Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show on the Provision Celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome to the program my co-host, Eric Couch of Provision Brokerage. Eric, how are you? And we have an awesome guest, people that are watching on television, but I'm trying to change it all up now. As I've been on TV forever, I just never put my face on television because I have a face for radio. Former professional wrestler, and getting to learn a little bit about that whole thing, and I've gotten pretty beat up. But Eric, go ahead and introduce our guest.
So today we have none other than country music western star Clint Black.
You overloaded the mic with that that thunderous applause.
Yes, hey, you're getting an audience today, Clint, not with the whole quarantine. So how are you holding up with the whole thing?
Well, it's getting pretty weird. I would say mostly I'm the guy yelling at the TV screen saying we need to go back to work. Fortunately, I'm not governor of any place.
Yeah,
because I would have probably made some mistakes by now, but I worry about my people and all of the people involved in the long chain. For every show, there are so many people who we rely on and worry about them. And, you know, that's what I'm doing. And then aside from that, I'm, you know, setting up my broadcast, my studio here.
sweet.
You know, where yeah, I've got my camera up there. I've been doing this Facebook Live stuff, trying to stay in touch with the real world so that I don't become some kooky guy who really doesn't know how to interact with people anymore.
Which I was in radio forever, where I would just interview the celebrity without seeing them on camera. So I had to go to the 21st century during the quarantine as well. All right, now go ahead, Eric, with your first question.
No doing interviews without your pants on anymore.
I don't want to stand up because I don't have pants on, but there you go. That's the good picture.
We've seen the result of that. Absolutely. Now, Clint, you've been crushing it lately on your Facebook and Twitter, and you just recently did a Facebook Live.
Yeah, I've been, I was having to do all this stuff myself, and I've got this broadcasting software, and so I'm trying to do all this and hit buttons, and I forget to unmute my guitar and all that in the first week and work my way around it for the second. Hopefully third week's a charm, no technical difficulties, and getting a balance. You know, you guys are natural broadcasters. This is second nature to you now. So you probably have a good sense of pacing, whereas I can do it in a concert.
Yeah.
But sitting here talking to a green dot, not the same.
It requires a little variation for sure.
Yeah.
So you've you know, I saw that you exceeded 500,000, I think, followers on Twitter, and then I jumped on Facebook, and I think it said 1 million followers on Facebook. So, you know, you're doing it, especially if you're doing it yourself, you're doing all right, buddy. You're doing all right.
Yeah, it's encouraging. You know, it's been 20 years since I had a major label promoting and distributing my music. So I've been kind of I've stayed busy, 80 cities a year, pretty much every year throughout all that. And but all the 10 years with RCA and the hits I had have given me this career, this longevity, the ability to go out and tour that much and to have people tune in, and it's not lost on me. You know, I know I'm lucky. I'm lucky I came along in '89 and was able to build an audience and be able to bring them along for this ride. Those fans who've been following me for years, they know back in '92 when, you know, all you could find on the internet were tumbleweeds. I had the blackboard on my website, and I had an interaction with fans, kind of like what we have on Twitter. And I was doing that in '92, and it would be more than 10 years probably before all these social platforms came along, and I let the blackboard go. And had an even more direct interaction. I always felt isolated, you know, working in the bars for years.
Right.
I would do a set and I would get off stage and talk to everyone who was there. And then I became famous and there were too many to talk to after the show. It was a great problem to have, but I started to feel more and more isolated. And so that Blackboard really made me feel like I was reconnecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about connection to your fans. It sounds like your whole career, you saw how important the fans are to keep yourself, to continue to grow and be relevant. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, you know, the first thing is, you know, real fans, they respect my privacy and they respect that I'm not there every minute of the day, every time they post a question to me. Every now and then there's someone who doesn't understand why I didn't answer them, you know, yesterday. And as I'm not there doing it constantly. Usually my longtime followers will jump up in my defense and say, no, he does care. So you want that mainly just to let people know you appreciate them. And I always recognize that, you know, not just the fans, but people that work in radio who supported me all the years. I used to make the rounds in my time off and try to go visit radio stations. And, you know, you can't have all this without everyone's support. And I wouldn't be able to have great musicians to record with if people weren't buying the records. And so recognizing that and just the little things that we can do to say thanks. And, you know, hey, not only thanks, but I really do like my fans.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple out there, as Gene Autry said, you know, I look out there and I see many flowers in our garden. Of course, there are a couple of weeds. And,
Yeah.
no, but I really do like them. And I like having the interaction, knowing what they think and letting them know what I think, and making them feel like I'm there and I care. That matters to me.
Yeah. Now I see that you're a Houston boy like me, as is your bride. So
Yep.
what part of Houston are you from?
We lived in when I was really little, we lived in South Houston, down around Howard Drive, and then we moved out I-10 at Bunker Hill, and then to Antwine, and then out further west to Derry Ashford until we ended up in Katy, out on High Road. So once I became an adult and started playing all over town, I was everywhere. I was down in up in Tomball and down in Clear Lake, over in Surfside and Galveston, and up in Spring, over in, I mean, I was all over town. So I got to know the city really well. And then at one point, you know, once I started touring, I would come back around, and I wouldn't it changed so much in the last 30 years. It really has grown.
Houston's grown. What is the fondest memory you have of Houston?
Well, as you started asking that, my mind went to, you know, the bios, you know, camping out, and yes, the bios. That's what
bios.
Not bayou. You know, we're not talking about the loneliest bayou in Louisiana, which is Bayou Self.
Yeah, Bayou Self.
Talking about Houston and Buffalo Bayou and Turkey Creek, and you know, camping out, going out to the Addicts Reservoir, and camping out, going out there on the 4th of July, and you know, just living kind of Huck Finn life, you know, fishing, you know, back before they called it noodling, we used to grab fish under the banks with our hands, and we would, when they would open the spillway, don't try this, kids. I nearly drowned doing this, jumping in. When they'd open the floodgates at the reservoir with big rains, we would jump in the bayou and ride it all the way from like Highway 6, 1960. We'd ride it, just free float in the bayou all the way to like, God, where would we go? Not as far as Gessner. Maybe Kirkwood, something like that, and just crazy, you know, floating along, and there goes a snake, and
maybe a gator.
just stupid kids. And I was 13. I got washed up under a tree that had fallen over, and everyone else made it up onto the banks, but me, and I was washed down to the bottom and being pushed into the tree, and had to shimmy up a limb to get to the top. And when I made it to the top, all my friends were screaming from the bank, "Snake, snake!" And there was a big water moccasin, very, very poisonous snake right there in my face. And I instantly let go and got washed back down to the bottom. Well, that would happen 2 more times until the 3rd time I made it up. And one of my friends, Mark Hogue, had run out onto the tree and grabbed the snake by the tail and flung it off. And so when I came up for that 3rd time, they said it was okay, and I was able to climb up onto the trunk and get out of it. But there was something like maybe poison oak or something on the tree, that my lungs and sinuses were on fire, and I was exhausted by that 3rd time up. I knew if it was do or die, I had to get out that time, because the current was so strong. So stupid things like that. That's my fondest memory. Is that weird?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I grew up in
that.
Baytown,
That's
and
good.
my junior high was Cedar Bayou Junior. So we would walk to the end of my street, and we'd get in the bayou. We had our canoe in our backyard, and we had to watch out for gators and snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping off the trestles into the water and just having a blast.
To catch a lot of snakes, and then when I was growing, I'd had enough of that. And here in Tennessee now, it's back. I deal with snakes all the time at my house. We're out in the country, and they'll end up in the garage, or they'll end up on the roof and fall off, on top of you if you're not careful. And so I'm constantly having to get rid of snakes here.
Yeah,
I've had enough of them.
I'm afraid of snakes, and luckily when I wrestled Jake the Snake Roberts in a 3-way, I didn't take the snake, losing the match.
Yeah.
I didn't take the snake. I would not want that. And Jake used to beat up those snakes and was mad at certain wrestlers, and the snake would bite the wrestler after losing the match. So it's good I didn't lose it. The other guy in the 3-way dance lost it. So I'm definitely afraid of snakes.
Yeah, good plan. Stay away from Jake.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely stay away from Jake. But he's made a great recovery. If you saw his comeback and story, and Diamond Dallas Page, is a fantastic guy, got him back clean. So, but he's an interesting character in the back room for sure.
So Clint, I always find it interesting. I mean, your first album, you had 5 #1 hits. So when it hit. But the journey there, how long was that? It
was overnight, 2 nights, really. It was a long journey. I played the bars for many years, and about 10 years, just eking out a living, and never sure I was going about it the right way, but sure I was going to go about it. And I finally managed to, I met Hayden Nicholas, and he had a 8-track recorder in his garage, and we started working on demos of songs I'd written, and would eventually write songs together. And the first song of mine we demoed was Nobody's Home, and my goal was always to find a manager. So once I did that, things got going, and it was still 2 years after that break until A Better Man was released. So even after I got my break and the record deal, I was still eking out a living in those bars around Houston.
Okay.
And that's how this idea for Killin Time came out. Hayden and I were talking about, we were on our way to some $50 gig, and talking about how slowly the big wheels in the music business turn. And I said, well, I just hope it really gets turning soon, because this Killin Time is killing me.
Yeah, I know those.
I was going to ask the backstory to that, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, we looked at each other, and we knew we had a song idea, and and we would write that one right away. That was something that I always said, and I think, you know, I still hear people say it because it was I'm just killing time until I have to go to work, or
Right.
what are you doing over there? I'm just killing time right now. But you know, those things they're used for a reason.
That's right.
I remember those $50 days in wrestling, Clint. Definitely do. And traveling those far towns all over the country and saying, and being in front of fans of what type of audience. Sometimes, what was the smallest audience you played in front of?
One. I was playing in a bar called the Balloon Club one night, and the bartender was there, and then a woman came in, and you know, there was a lot of room in the in the place. She dragged her chair over. She was quite intoxicated, but managed to get a chair over right in front of me, and sat down and warbling all the way. And so now I'm just singing to her, and she gets up in between songs and manages over a long drawn out period to tell me that I had just kicked her in the gut. And I took that to be euphemistically in song, you know, killing me softly with his song type of thing. But she said it as if she were holding it against me, and sat back down and began to rummage through her purse looking for something. I thought maybe a gun. And so I spent the whole next song wondering, what is she looking for and how mad at me is she?
Yeah, where's this going?
And this soft cedar top on this guitar is not going to stop a bullet.
Yeah.
She seemed so angry at me that ended up being all I could think about for the next song or two.
Oh my.
Wow. And that process of growth and everything, did you expect the to have 5 songs hit number one?
Sure. Demanded it, really. No, I believed in the songs, and I knew I was with a strong record company, but you don't know things.
No, you
really
don't.
you may know. I know I'm going to make it. I know that's going to be a hit, but you don't know. You just want to know. And once the first song became a hit, it was like, yes, I was right. But then you start seeing the stories. You know, this is very rare for a debut single, and then the next one, and the next one, the next one, and then you know, before all 5 singles had been released, Better Man and Killin Time had become the number 1 and 2 single of the year.
Right.
And then I thought, yes, I was right about that too. And but then you read, well, that hadn't happened. The last time that happened was with a single artist was 35 years prior with Hank Williams.
Oh.
And
Senior.
Yeah, Kalijah and Your Cheating Heart, which I sang a million times in the bar. So now I have that connection, and historically, and it really starts, I start to understand just how unlikely all this was.
Yeah.
And then when the 5th song goes to number 1, and it wasn't in, there were 2 charts, Billboard and R&R back then. So number 1 on either chart was a number 1. And so 4 went on Billboard and 5 went on R&R. So that qualified as 5 number 1s. And then, you know, you read the article where that has never happened before in any music genre in history. And so it starts to become very apparent that this is that this just wasn't likely to happen. And no matter how much I knew those songs would be popular, that the odds were against it all. And then the talk became, well, when's one not going to go number 1? And that the little part of me wanted that conversation to be over.
Right.
And let's move past that. And then I think the first song off the next album went to number 2 on the national chart. And And so it was still a hit, but it didn't hit that #1. Maybe it was the second song off that album, but one of those, it happened, and then that conversation was over. And I wasn't actually wishing that conversation had been over. I'm going to shut this door so we don't hear the phone ring.
Okay.
As he jumps back in, and that's the fun thing about we see some of the recordings on Fox and MSNBC and CNN and all these people trying to do these Zoom interviews. Quality is much better in this than some of the people calling it. I like your whole background. It's perfect. Go ahead, Eric, with next question. I know you have 1,000 for Clint, but Clint has places to be, but he's not just killing time with us. But go ahead.
Let me hang on a minute. I've got to go sit around in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're closing it out in 6. All right, go.
I got to go wait for the limo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you. Actually, I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions, right? Like, when was your big break? How did you get into music, and when did you decide you wanted to do it? But really, so one of my passions. So I grew up singing music because my older brother did. I grew up in Baytown, lived in every part. Got married into a family where every person in my family, cousins, grandparents, every direction has been divorced at least once, if not 3 times. And I'm married into a family that I've been, in fact, on next Wednesday will be our 20th anniversary. And in 20 years, I've never met a single person in my wife's family that's been divorced. And being a part of this family has really changed my life, right? And I know you've got an amazing love story, and you're married to a celebrity, right? So, I want to hear about that. I want to hear about how y'all met and how marriage has been, because you've been married since 91?
It'll be 29 years this October.
All right.
Yeah. I got lucky. I found the right person. I finally found Ms. Right. Ms. Always Right.
Yeah.
We met backstage at one of my concerts in Houston, actually, my first big headline show then called The Summit. And we had mutual friends who were playing matchmakers, independent of each other, people who knew both of us and didn't really know each other. They somehow knew we should meet. So we met New Year's Eve at my concert, and we were married 10 months and 20 days later. And, aside from meeting a fantastic woman who is strikingly beautiful inside and out, I met someone who wanted as much to devote herself to the marriage as I did.
Yeah.
So we work hard to protect our marriage and communicate well. When Roy Rogers found out we were getting married, he said, "I'll give you one piece of advice. Don't ever go to bed angry." Now, I'm a psychology buff, so I, as a student of human behavior and a songwriter, I just want to know why we do things. And so I've read, many books on psychology, and one of them, we're talking about that same thing in a more complicated way, which if you look at emotions like drops of mercury on a table, you need to wipe them off right away, because the next one that comes along, they'll join. And with mercury, it becomes one blob, and you can't distinguish one issue from another. You'll end up with this big blob that you can never divide back up. So you got to wipe the slate clean as you go, so that you're able to talk about it intelligently. But on top of that, one of the most useful things that I learned from reading those books was that you can't tell someone what their intent was. You can only tell them how they made you feel. And their intentions are their own, and only they own those. And so you better not get into a debate on what those were. But if you assume the best of your spouse or your brother or your friend or your mom or dad, whoever it is, if you assume the best of intentions, you can let them know that something they did made you feel a certain way, and then they can correct you. Say, "Oh, I had gas, and that's all you saw on my face. I had gas. I was trying not to burp." or I think I'm going to throw up. And
Right.
then I looked at you. And so, so if you go to someone and you say, the other last night or whatever, at the party, you looked over at me when I said something and it really made me feel like I embarrassed you, for instance. And then they can say, yeah, well, you did embarrass me. Or they can say, well, I had gas. But whatever the case, you're telling them not what they did, but how they made you feel. You looked over at me and I felt bad. And they can say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that. And you can move past it. But if you let that stuff linger, then one day you just come back and say, you're a terrible person. I've always known it.
Oh, wow.
And so communication, in the simplest terms, don't ever go to bed angry and don't tell someone what they did. Just tell them how they made you feel and give them a chance to correct the story.
Yeah.
See, that's great advice, Clint, about how to tell someone how they made you feel. So it really doesn't, it's a good way to correct people without correcting them, right?
If you're very careful about that with all your relationships, then it's hard for you to be wrong. Now, you can be mistaken, but you can't be wrong. I was mistaken about your intentions, but I wasn't wrong about how that felt.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I felt this way. And not that you made me feel that way, but this is how I felt when it happened. Is that your intention? And that's something we've worked a lot on and a part of a group called Reengage, of just working with marriages and working on our own, and you build on it every day.
Well, congratulations to you. It's a treasure, and if you can protect it from everything in the outside world and protect it from yourselves, you'll have something invaluable.
That's right.
So Clint, I'm going to jump into, you want another question, Eric? You can grab one more, and then we can talk about his latest projects before we have to, finish up.
Yeah. So I was, my thought on your last point that hit me a while back was, the Lord says, what God's put together, let no man tear apart. And what I realized is the only man who could tear my marriage apart was me, right? Nobody's getting in the house unless I open the door. And I think that's any husband, of just love your wife and communicate. So the final question I had for you is, who's been your greatest influence? Like influencer to you?
Well, I think, as a kid, it was, my parents, my older brothers. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and watching them really taught me how to get away with doing the wrong thing and not getting caught. And then as I grew older and wiser, then I less and less wanted to do the wrong thing. I'd say my parents, I was raised Catholic, but I wasn't well taught. Catholicism, I came to, the Bible later, and really approached it as trying to bridge this gap, this leap of faith that I wasn't able to make. And then I started studying other faiths and just trying to get a handle on, what is this, what is the real connection to God? I believe there is a God, and did he send us many messengers? Did he send us only one? And this is the sort of thing I grapple with. But through all that, I benefited from all the teachings. And so regardless of how strong my bridge is, I'm still able to benefit, whether it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, Buddhism, Viracocha, whatever it is, that looks to me like God's trying to help us to connect with him or her.
Yeah.
Then those things have been a huge influence on me. I believe we're connected, and it's up to us to pick up the phone and keep the connection open. Yeah. So aside from that, being a student of philosophy and of the religious philosophies, of course, but the philosophers through the ages, the songwriters I consider to be great philosophers, encapsulating big thoughts into poetry. And as a student of all the songwriters, I've learned a lot about myself and about love and about human behavior and what matters. And so those things have and been a big influence. The last thing that I would say would be being my own songwriter, because I've had to look inside so much in order to find feelings that inspire lyrics, that I know myself, I know my own behavior, and I think I understand other people, and so that's kind of made me an even person, I think, where maybe jumping to conclusions too quickly, angering too easily, all those things that can really get you in big trouble, I don't do as much.
Mm-hmm. Now, Clint, the latest projects. What are your latest projects? Tell us about them.
Well, I'm promoting a new album that comes out June 19th. It's called Out of Sane, and it's all new music, all original songs except for one. I covered a Harry Nilsson song Fred Neil wrote called Everybody's Talking, and I reinvented the song, but I think kept the spirit of the original vocal metering intact.
Yeah.
And so it's a very good CD according to me, and I encourage everyone to get it. If you pre-order it, then you can win a Skype like this, where you and, I don't know if it's 20 or 30, whatever it is, of your friends and family, we can all do what we're doing here now together.
That's great.
Part of a contest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm out promoting all of that, and the new song, My Best Thinking. The first IG track off the record is America, Still in Love with You. I made a video on that, and one of my friends was a SEAL commander, and known him for years, and one of his best friend was killed in action, Kyle Millikin. And when I was making the video, I had a lot of stock footage, historical footage that I was pulling from to create the video. And I called up my friend and I said, I really need someone to bring the badass to this video.
Yeah.
And we both thought of Kyle. And so he talked to Erin, Kyle's widow, and asked if it was okay. And she sent along some photos, and I picked one to put in the video, and it's of Kyle in uniform holding up an American flag. Comes in about 2 minutes into the video. So I want to honor Kyle through these efforts to promote the music by driving traffic to the Kyle Millikin Foundation website, where you can get to it through clintblack.com. And I'm going to be making some announcements soon about other ways we're going to work to help fund the Kyle Millikin Foundation, which was begun by Kyle's friends in the SEAL community to help Kyle's family, his wife and 2 kids. And once that was done, she felt so much gratitude, and realizing that not all in that military community are getting that kind of support, she shifted the focus of the KMF to broaden it to Gold Star families and anyone else in the oh, my old timey car's here. I gotta go. Anyone else in the military community who might be struggling, whether it's with the loss of a family member, or one former SEAL had a terrible accident and was nearly electrocuted to death, and they helped his family while he recovered. If someone's struggling through this COVID quarantine or illness like that, it's going for a real broad reach. So we want to help to fund that and honor Kyle Millikin and throughout this effort. So that's going to become one of the focal points of everything I do here on.
Great.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Well, that's
That's
fantastic.
my privilege.
Yeah,
It's my privilege. It's a privilege, as you guys probably know, doing what you do, to get to meet some of these great Americans and their families, by extension, who sacrifice so much and worry so much. And it makes us all feel good to do anything that not only helps them, but also reassures them that we haven't forgotten about you. Through everything this country goes through, there's a very small percentage of us who give so much. The military, the first responders. I have many friends in law enforcement, and we want to remember them and honor them. And you can do that by going to clintblack.com and clicking through to the Kyle Millikin Foundation page. And even if you only have a little to give, nickels and dimes add up to millions of dollars, and they will change lives.
Well,
thanks for taking the time, Eric, with always great questions. And I have the follow-up, and I don't think you thought you'd be on an interview talking about a snake and a wrestler and Jake the Snake and all the different connections we made, but there's a lot of connections, and appreciate you taking the time, and you're welcome to come back anytime. Okay, Clint?
I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it. Great questions. You made me think. I told my press agent I really didn't want to think, and but I said I'll do anything I can't get out of.
well, thank you for doing it.
All kidding aside, that was great. I love the questions, and
Well,
I appreciate your help with the music and with the Kyle Millikin Foundation. Everything you do there would be appreciated.
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Hey, and final for me, you know, if there's ever an opportunity to do a Maverick Part 2, you know, I'm voting for it because we love that movie.
I was thrown off the boat, but I didn't drown.
That's right.
So I'm back. I'm ready.
That's right.
I'll be ready to cheat again.
I'll vote for you for Part 2 any day. We probably watched it 100 times and we'll watch it again. It's
That
great.
was so much fun. Yeah, they need to make another one.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, guys.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Be well.
All right. See you. Okay. Bye-bye. You're listening to the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.